Welcome back to This Week in Film. It's the weekly podcast
where we record a podcast, but you don't get to hear it.
Yeah, sometimes we record it, and then Nick doesn't have time to edit it. And basically, we talk about the movies we've seen over the past week, even though you may not have heard from us in a couple of weeks. I'm Nick Panunto, joined as always by Midwest Matt Lauer. Matt, how's it going?
I think we're old, Nick. But otherwise, it's going well.
Yeah. There's a comedian who has a bit. I can't remember who it is. I want to say it's Louis C.K., but he's got a bit about how his ankle hurt and it made some weird noise, and he's in his 40s, so he goes to the doctor and he's like, yeah, my ankle's doing this weird thing, and the doctor's like, yeah, it'll do that. He's like, you're just gonna have to live with that.
Yeah, well, welcome to old.
Yeah. Matt, I assume you've seen one movie this week.
You assume correctly. I saw Crawl.
Crawl? Oh, is that the crocodile movie that just came out?
It's an alligator movie. But
okay.
You're probably thinking about the same one. I don't think that there's a crocodile movie contending with an alligator movie. Yeah, what'd you see, Nick?
I saw two movies.
All right.
I watched, what are they called? I watched The Red Turtle from 2016.
Is that a Japanese cartoon?
Technically. I think it's more of a French film. The original title is La Tortue Rouge.
Nah, that sounds Japanese.
But it's made by Studio Ghibli, who makes all those classic Japanime films like My Neighbor Totoro and the like. So that's what I thought it was at first, was Japanime or Japanese animation. But I guess it's French done in a Japanese animation style. Anyway.
I see.
The other movie that I saw is Alita, Battle Angel from 2019. Yep.
I'm curious about that.
Uh-huh. I'm sure you are.
And getting more curious as you speak with that tone.
So I guess I'll start with La Tortue Rouge, or The Red Turtle from 2016. Is directed by Michael Dudok DeWitt, which I'm sure sounds much better in French. And like I said,
probably
is a Studio Ghibli film, but with a French style.
I don't know this for sure, but everyone except for you that I've ever heard pronounce that says Ghibli. So it might be Ghibli.
What did I say?
Ghibli.
I'm probably right.
You might be.
Yeah. Everyone else is wrong. So this movie is pretty good. The basic plot, let's just say the first half of the movie is the movie Castaway. This man starts out, he's shipwrecked in the ocean during some terrible storm, and he washes up on the shores of this deserted island, and basically he's trying to survive. And it's very well done. It's beautifully animated. It has that. It looks like it's hand drawn, like an old kind of style animation. I don't know if it's a modern CGI done in old style animation style. That's not how you say words, but it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful film, and but there's no dialogue in the movie at all.
Really?
Except occasionally some of the characters will yell, "Hey," which was kind of a relief, because when the movie started and all of the credits were in French, I said to my son, I was like, we might not be able to watch this because it might be in French. Because I don't know if it's going to have English dub to it.
Yeah.
And luckily there's just no words except for people yelling, "Hey," every so often. And so this guy is stuck on this island, and he's kind of making his way. He kind of figures stuff out. And then one day he decides that he's going to make a raft and try and make make a break for it. He wants to try and get off the island. So he makes this big raft out of the bamboo that's from this bamboo forest, and he gets just far enough away from the island, and something attacks the boat and breaks it apart, and he's got to swim back to shore. So some time goes by, and he decides to try again. He makes a slightly bigger raft, goes out to sea, and again this thing destroys his raft. And he doesn't know what's destroying the raft, because whatever's hitting him is like real quick. So he gets washed back up on shore again. He's pissed off, and one last time he makes this raft, and he like brings some weapons with him. And this time he discovers that it's this giant red turtle that's destroying his boat. And he like makes eye contact with the turtle, and the turtle looks back at him, and then it just goes under the water and then destroys his boat again. And he washes up on shore, and he's like so mad, and like he goes to the top of the mountain, and he's just kind of like sulking up there, just like furious. And the turtle comes along shore just to, get out of the water, and the guy runs down the mountain, grabs a stick, and I'm going to get into spoilers at this point, because if you haven't seen this movie, I would highly recommend it, but I'm gonna ruin it now. So skip ahead, because I'm gonna ruin it, and it's worth watching. But it's at.
Sorry,
okay?
that was me sneezing.
Bless you.
Thanks.
But it's at this point the movie stops being Castaway and turns into like a magical fable kind of a thing, because the man smashes the turtle's head with a big board.
Oh, God.
And then flips it on its back and then leaves it to die because he's so mad at the turtle. And the turtle basically over the next couple days just dies. And the guy comes over and like finally he feels terrible about what he's done. And he's like, he tries to bring the turtle back to life or see if it's alive. And it's just dead. And he's like, oh, I feel really bad about this.
How was your son handling this?
He was all right with it. My daughter was fine with it, too. She was like, turtle wrecked his boat.
Okay, well, I'm about to go walk in traffic, but geez, all right.
It felt, at the time, you're like, this is a justifiable homicide. And so he's just kind of hanging out with the turtle's carcass, and because he's got nothing else to do. And then suddenly, like, the turtle's shell, like, cracks open in the middle, and he's like, ugh, weird. And he like leaves, and when he comes back, the turtle has turned into a beautiful woman. Yeah. Like it's a woman inside of a turtle shell.
Yeah.
And she's like a woman, like fully grown. She's got cool red hair, and Did you sneeze
a woman.
again?
Yeah, no.
She's a woman, but she's like afraid of him. And so they spend the next forever long. The movie's kind of good and kind of bad. It's showing how much time has passed.
Okay.
Because he like slowly grows this heavy beard while he's on the island, and his clothes get more and more tattered. But like as time goes on, basically him and the woman fall in love, and she gets out of the turtle shell, and she's just like a regular woman.
Yeah.
They fall in love, and then they have a kid together, and then like the kid grows up on the island, and I guess he's part turtle, which is weird. He's like half turtle because he can swim underwater for a long time and swim with turtles, and they'll give him rides places.
Does he look like a turtle at all?
No, he just looks like a man.
Okay.
And then like, time goes on, and the boy like feels the horizon calling his name, and he's like, Mom, Dad, I gotta go. I'm gonna leave now. I'm gonna go for a big long swim with the turtles. And Mom and Dad are like, okay, we hate to see you go, but we understand. And they go, oh, I almost forgot. Before all this happens, there's a horrible tsunami where they're all like having a nice day. They're all just collecting food, but then like all the animals on the island start going crazy, and my wife is watching it too, and then like all the water washes away from the beach, and my wife and I at the exact same time go, "Oh, it's a tsunami." And it was. It's this giant tsunami that comes in and wrecks the entire island and like washes the dad out to sea, injures the mom, but the boy is practically unharmed. And then it's like at this point where the boy learns that he can like hang out with turtles. And because the turtles take him to his dad and then they swim back. And so then all that other stuff happens that I was saying where the boy's like, I gotta go. I'm going to go hang out with the turtles. And then like more time goes on and the man and the woman, they continue to get older and older to the point where like their hair turns white. And then just one day they're like on the beach sleeping and the dad wakes up and he like looks at the moon and the ocean and then he just dies. And the mom, the woman character is like, "Oh no, he's dead. I'm so sad." And she's like, "Well, I guess I'll go take a quick bath." And she goes and sits in the ocean for a minute, and then she comes back and holds his dead hand, and then she turns back into a turtle. and then leaves. And she goes back into the water and swims away. End of movie.
So,
yeah.
So does this feel like it had a plot?
Oh yeah, there's a total plot, and it's very good. It was wonderful. I could have done without the whole, like the whole second half of the movie. You're kind of like, so what is she? Is he just losing his mind? Is he just banging this turtle and then pretending that it's a woman?
Yeah.
And when he dies, she's still just a turtle, but his dream world is over. So like, I mean, there's like a magical element to the story, but it goes from being like so kind of realistic to being so fantastical so quick that you're like, and there's like a bunch of dream sequences in the movie too. So you're like, is this just another dream? Did he just die out in the water at one point and this is like his Jacob's Ladder moment or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess the movie leaves a lot to interpretation, and you can kind of read into it how you want. But when she turns back into the turtle and she's like, well, I guess I'll go back into the ocean, you're like, I guess this movie's over.
Okay.
Yeah. It is definitely worth watching, and it's only an hour and 20 minutes long.
Now, at the end of this movie, did Alex say anything?
He liked it. He was like, that was good.
See, I'm just picturing him going like, hey, Dad, what the hell just happened? Like,
yeah.
What was that?
He was more confused by the tsunami than anything, and I was like trying to explain it to him, and I think that just scared him more than anything because I was like,
next time you go to the beach, he's gonna be like, I'm gonna stay on the boardwalk.
I was like, yeah, if you're ever on the beach and the water just goes away, get as far away from the water as you can. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, oh, Father of the Year.
Oh God.
Yeah. But yeah, he and my daughter were both pretty into the movie. There were a couple slow spots where they got like fidgety and stuff, but they were into it. My wife enjoyed it, but she didn't come down till after the turtle turned into a woman. But when she came down, she was like, "This is great. I'm loving this."
So when you were like, hey, that woman on screen that you see, and she's like, yeah, like, she was a turtle. Did you go,
exactly.
Huh?
Yeah. She was like, she was a turtle? I'm like, yeah, she was a turtle. And then he murdered it, and now she's a woman.
So, you hear that, incels? All you got to do is go murder a turtle, and you can have a woman.
What's an incel again?
Involuntary celibates. Guys that can't get laid.
Oh.
Yeah, and then they turn into like male chauvinist pigs.
Because they can't get laid?
Yeah. They decide that because they've never had sex that women are evil.
Oh.
They're right up there with just like racist. They probably mostly are also racist, but yeah. Anyway,
I mean, that's just dumb.
all they got to do is go find a giant turtle to kill.
Why would you identify yourself as someone who can't get laid?
I don't know. I guess you hit a certain point of frustration and just start taking it out on the world. And once you've decided it's your mission, you identify with it. I don't know.
Oh. All right. People are dumb. Okay. So, that was... What's it called in French? Le Tortue Rouge. Le Tortue Rouge. Or the Red Turtle. Definitely worth checking out. Now, I want to point out that on IMDb, this movie has a 7.5.
Less than Aquaman.
Is it?
Isn't Aquaman 7.6?
Oh my god. I gotta check that when you start talking. But Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah.
Also 7.5.
Okay, so I'm expecting a similarly positive review.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get to that.
I'm expecting you loved this movie. I guess I'll talk about Crawl now.
All right.
So the plot of this movie is very simple.
Breaking news. Aquaman is a 7.1.
Oh. I think it's gone down.
I think you're right. It definitely used to be higher.
Nice. Okay, so that means there's 0.5 worth of, like, sane people out there who realize Aquaman's not good. Yeah! Or maybe they just, like, gave it, like, a 6. I don't know. It deserves, like, a 1. But anyway, so Crawl, this I had seen previews for. I mean, obviously, as you know, from Preview... Oh, yeah, Preview Corner.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Let's take a quick break and travel down the road to Preview Corner.
Going on down to Preview Corner.
Nick, you totally had me there because I was like, we need some theme music for this. You and me, buddy. You got me.
Hey, listener, if you have theme music for Preview Corner, we'll use it.
Just do some sort of mix with what Nick just sang. Make it a dubstep song. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I was running a little bit late, and I thought I was going to miss some stuff, but I guess I didn't because I've got 7 previews here. First, I saw a preview for a movie I've been hearing about, but hadn't seen anything for yet, and that's Dr. Sleep. What? Do you know about Dr. Sleep?
No, I don't.
Dr. Sleep is the sequel to The Shining.
What?
Yeah. There's a sequel to The Shining. There is a second book called Dr. Sleep.
Oh, wait, is this the Ewan McGregor movie?
It is. Or, as autocorrect would tell you, Ween McGregor. I know people like Ewan McGregor. I don't.
I love Ewan McGregor.
See? But, whatever. Such is the story of my life. People like things and I don't. So there's that. But, yeah, it looks decent, I guess. So he is Danny. He's the kid grown up. And I couldn't really tell what was going on in the preview. It looked like at some point he was in the room of the hotel where, like, his father had chopped through the door with the axe. Uh-huh. But I got the impression from the rest of it, like, they weren't in the same environment, so I don't know if that might be a dream sequence or what. He's talking to some young girl, and he's like, yeah, I call it The Shining. But I really have no idea. The Shining?
The Shining. You don't want to get sued.
But I couldn't tell what it was actually about. So I don't have a lot to say there, other than I'm kind of curious.
I mean, I guess you don't know a lot about it, but is it a sequel to the movie or a sequel to the book? Because from what I know, Stephen King hates that Stanley Kubrick movie.
Version. Yeah. The book's a Stephen King book, but I'm guessing that it's more a movie sequel to the movie. So I don't know. I mean, there's probably some way to work that stuff so it's using the book, but also fits more with the movie stuff. It definitely doesn't have the same aesthetic at all. Like The Shining was a movie of its time as far as appearance goes, and it kind of had to be. But this, looks polished and 2019-ish, which I think is a little bit. I mean, I feel like he's Ewan McGregor's too young for that.
Yeah.
But whatever. Maybe he's not. I don't even know. Like Danny, what's his face, is like probably 8 in the movie, and that movie's from the early 70s.
Yeah, I guess. I want to say 73, but I'm guessing.
That's what I would have guessed. So I don't know. Maybe he is the right age. I don't know. It doesn't. I guess I would expect there to be some effort put in to make it.
Oh my God, The Shining's from 1980.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I guess he is about the right age, so that works. But there's still something, like, I feel like if you're gonna shoot a film that's a sequel to The Shining, like, you'd make it a little grainy or something. But either way, I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I might see it. I don't love The Shining the way a lot of people do, but I also haven't seen it since I was a kid. Like, I watched it a couple times when I was, I don't know, probably like 7 or 8 or something like that with my sister. Like little kids watch The Shining.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time since I've seen it, so
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I might appreciate it more now. I saw a preview for Gemini Man again, and I don't have much more to say about it other than that it is definitely Will Smith's mouth that doesn't look right when it comes to the him talking to himself and the younger version of him.
Yeah.
It's his mouth just is not moving right. They need to. I guess CGI just still isn't there when it comes to mouths.
Yeah.
Then I saw a preview for a movie that I'm kind of interested in. I mean, it looks like garbage, but like it's basically The Most Dangerous Game, except it's called The Hunt, and it's a bunch of people instead of just one person being hunted by another person. It's a bunch of people being hunted by a bunch of people, and I feel like I saw way too much of the movie in the preview, as is the case often in these days. But I liked the way it started. Like, it started with this woman being in a store and being like, "Hey, what state am I in?" And they're like, "Most people know what state they're in." She's like, "Yeah, well, I don't. So what state is this?" And they're like, "Arkansas." And she just goes nuts on these people. She attacks them. And you kind of come to find out while you're watching the movie, I mean the preview, that like she was kind of testing them to see if they would tell her the truth or not. And she's like, "They're lying. They're trying to kill us." And then I don't know if the movie's going to play out in the same order that the preview did, but it's like you come to realize that they already know they're being hunted, and she's just trying to stay alive and figure out who's trying to hunt them and who's not, and whether or not they've escaped this hunting area or not. But it looks like a decent ride.
What's it called? The Hunt?
The Hunt.
Oh, okay. Anybody in that?
Yeah. The main character does not look familiar. Although there was one shot where I was like, wait a minute, from that angle, she might be an actress I just haven't seen in a long time. And then I'm pretty sure it has the woman that was in $1 Million Baby.
Hilary Swank?
That's the one. I'm pretty sure she is the main bad guy. Which, I don't know, probably you're not supposed to know until the end of the movie. I don't quite know, but in the preview they tell you, so there you go.
All right.
But I'm in. I'll go see that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I saw a preview that had a lot more going on in it. It was just sort of a longer version. It had all the same clips that were in the other ones, but I guess that Margot Robbie, or Margot Robbie, however you say it, is actually playing the actress that was killed by Charles Manson's people.
Oh, yeah? Is that Sharon Tate?
Yeah.
Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, it is. It is. Which is kind of a strange thing. I mean, I guess people play dead people all the time, but I feel a little strange about, being like a Tarantino comedy, what comedy is that what you would call a Tarantino movie? I don't even know now. So she's like playing this woman who was murdered, and it seems like there are going to be a lot of jokes going on, so to feel a little strange about that, but I'm interested in the movie. I'm ready for it to come out so I can see what it's about. Mm-hmm. There was definitely a moment in the preview where I got like kind of excited, and I was like, oh yeah, that's that good response to a Tarantino thing. Like when it comes to Tarantino, I have two responses, and one is that's going to be exciting and interesting, and the other is, ugh, come on, so tired of it. And I definitely had both of those experiences during the previews, so I'll see it, and then hopefully it won't be Django Unchained.
You didn't like Django Unchained?
The end of it was so damn stupid that it really ruined the movie for me.
Yeah,
I never want to see it again, even though I was kind of enjoying it up till the
end,
the last
20
act.
minutes, yeah,
and then the last 30 seconds especially. And then I saw another preview for Star Wars, and I realized I was having kind of a funny response to that too, because I'm like, man, I'm in for this movie, and then I was like, I don't quite know why though, because there's nothing in the trailer that I'm actually excited about, except that I like the character of Rey, even though I know a lot of people don't, and I don't really care. I'm just like, I think she seems pretty cool. I think I like the actress.
I gotta say, I am so unenthused for this next Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like The Last Jedi. Like, as more and more time goes by, the more and more I hate The Last Jedi. and the more and more I think about how they're going to have to change, like, retcon everything in this movie to fix The Last Jedi.
To kind of drag it back to old Star Wars canon feel.
Yeah. But, like, I could not be... Like, I mean, it's a Star Wars movie. I'm going to be there. But, like, I'm just like, I don't care.
See, now we're probably the parts of you, well, it sounds like most of you is unexcited, and the part of me that's not excited is the opposite, where I'm like, when it comes to Rey's parentage, I really like the idea that her parents were nobody, and I'm expecting that it's going to be like, no, you're a Skywalker,
yeah,
and I'm like, well, that's boring and expected and whatever. So I think I still just like. I like Rey, but I like the Kylo Ren character. Like, I like this guy who's just like tormented, and like it comes out in this kind of whiny way, but he's got all this power, so it's like this dangerous loose cannon thing.
I really like Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens. I thought he was terrific. Mm-hmm. Like, for all the reasons you just said. And then in the second movie, when he smashes the helmet and it's the director saying, we're not doing any of that stuff. We're going to do our own thing now. And then in the trailer for this one, they literally show him welding his helmet back together as if to say, forget about all that stuff from that last movie. We're getting back to basics with this guy.
I guess that's fair. It's probably a fair read on that. So I don't know. I guess we'll both be there. Well, it'll probably be a good conversation once we have our takes. And that's a preview for the new Terminator movie again, and I'm getting more excited about Linda Hamilton, and more frustrated and angry that the effects of this guy's boring ass face are just suck. Like, now I've never seen anyone rebuild their face in real life, so I don't know what that actually looks like. But in the preview, I'm just like, man, it just looks like shitty effects to see this guy's face rebuilding itself, and it doesn't even look as good as it did on Robert Patrick in 1993.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I read an article. I guess they had their big Comic-Con panel yesterday. And Edward Furlong is in the new Terminator.
Really?
As John Connor.
Huh.
Which I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Does he still look like he's like 15?
Probably not. Although the picture that they used for him in the article is from the Terminator 2, like a production still, and I'm like, he's like a grown ass man now. Like,
but what if he is one of those grown men who still look like they're in their teens? Like,
what's his name? The guy from the 80s.
Seth Green.
Not Corey Haim.
No, he's
Feldman. Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman looks the same.
Does
just
he?
Like, he looks the same, just older.
Huh. Well, that's...
There is... Speaking of Corey Feldman, there is an amazing... He's got a band.
Oh, yeah, I've heard.
There is an amazing music video where he's singing this song. And it's not a bad song. I was actually kind of like, this is all right. And... but the video for it is supposed to be one shot, like on Steadicam, and it does not go well. Like, there are mistakes left and right. Like, he's late to his cues and stuff. And, like, you can tell he's, like, working his ass off for this video, and everybody's trying really hard. But, like, it just does not come together like a one-shot production should. And you should check it out. It's it's kind of a disaster. It's really worth watching.
Well, speaking of movie stars making music, have you heard any of the Jeremy Renner stuff?
What?
Yeah. Check it out. It's kind of funny.
Is it country?
No. It's kind of like the country pop rock jazz. I don't know. He
does he sing?
Yeah. And I hear this through the podcast I was talking about before, the Daily Zeitgeist. And I guess his way of, like, he takes himself very seriously, it seems. And his way of, like, promoting it was to, like, put a clip of him singing without the music out there. And it's like, what you gotta do but to say? You're like, what is going on here? And then I heard the song itself once it came out. I heard the clip where he was saying this thing. And I was like, oh, in context, it works a little better. I don't know why he would try to put it out there without the music and think that would sound good. But I guess he's either Jeep has commercials with him or he's making the commercials himself. I take it must be Jeep because they sound like pretty expensive commercials, but like where he's dreaming about himself. Like he's dreaming about driving in his car, listening to his own music. And it's sort of like an escapist kind of thing. Like, oh, I was just dreaming about going for a ride. And then he comes back to reality and then decides to go for a ride. Yeah. Anyway. So.
That's awful.
Yeah. So Crawl.
Oh, was that the last preview?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. So Crawl is a very simple movie. This is a movie in which there is a hurricane and a girl or a woman, young woman, and her dad are stuck in a house with a bunch of alligators in a hurricane. And I had seen previews for this and thought, oh yeah, I'll go there just because an alligator movie is exactly the sort of thing that I would go see.
Like gator bait.
No. Let's
like gator bait.
Let's try to forget that those movies exist. So I had heard since I had heard a couple people, review it and say like this movie's actually really good. So I made the mistake of letting myself have expectations a bit. And there's not a whole lot more to say as far as the plot goes. Really, it's just that they're stuck and the water's rising. And there's all sorts of stuff that doesn't work out right continuity-wise. Like outside the house, the water level is at like hip level because you see people trying to walk through it. And they're like, there are people who are in a boat, and when they're walking in the water, it's definitely somewhere between like their knees and their hips. But this girl and her dad are in their basement, and there are lots of big holes built into the basement walls, like these open window type things. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense, because at the same time that there are people outside in 3 feet of water, they are below that, and it's like starting to fill the basement. And they're like, oh yeah, it's,
I see
6 inches deep down here under ground level. And meanwhile, it's probably 5 feet higher than that outside. It just doesn't make sense at all.
The windows have a lot of like weather sealing on them.
No, there are literally these big holes, which doesn't make sense. I mean, no one would build a basement with like giant holes in the wall, but they're like designed that way. Like imagine like lattice work or something like that. In this case, it's kind of made of cement, but it's as though the basement was supposed to be an open air thing, and you were just putting up some, I don't know, like design stuff to keep large animals out. I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make any sense.
I'm very confused. Like,
yeah. Imagine you were to build a house with a basement, but you were like, I don't want this basement to be closed. I want all the windows to be built so that they're open.
Is it like one of those basements where it's like the bottom of the house, but like you can go outside from like the back wall? Like the back wall is at ground level, but the front of the house, the basement is underground.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's a basement, but the windows are meant to be non-existent for some reason. And then there's a little bit of like stone lattice work, let's say. Okay. So it's basically the way you would build a basement if you wanted it to flood in a hurricane.
Yeah. But where does this take place? Is it Florida?
Yeah, it's in Florida.
Of course.
And so as the people who were kind of mentioning this movie was a good movie, they were like, yeah, it's a fun monster movie. And now that it's over and I'm not like being disappointed the whole time, I will say that as far as just a monster movie goes, it's decent. But the other half of the movie, like the characters, it's just so annoying. Like they just didn't bother at all to make these people likable. It's a bit like The Shallows, where you're like, yeah, so she's got some kind of strained relationship with her dad. Except in The Shallows, the dad's not there. In this movie, he is, and he's fucking annoying. And she's a swimmer. And of course, she's going to have to swim, so that's no big surprise.
So, let me interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
The basement fills with water and alligators, right?
The alligators are already there.
In the basement?
Yeah.
Like the pets or something?
So there's a hurricane going on, and she is going to this house to find her dad. First, she's going to the house that he lives at. I don't know why they bothered to put this in there, that they need to go to 2 different locations. I guess to make the movie an hour and a half long. because she goes to his house, and then she's like, I wonder if he's at our old house. And I'm like, you already explained that the parents are divorced. Like, we don't need more clues. Just go there, just have it be the same place. So anyway, she gets there, and she gets down to the basement, and he's already been attacked by an alligator. So
why? Why are there alligators?
Oh, because one of the other things that this basement has is a giant sewer tunnel tube thing that goes directly out into the swamp, or the like lake, ocean. It's not quite clear. Because that's what you would want in Florida, where there are all sorts of like snakes and alligators and stuff, is a big tunnel into your house. This house was specifically built so that this could happen. I can't make that clearer. And some of these things that I'm telling you may sort of be spoilers, but it's not because they're surprising.
I don't think I'll ever see it.
Well, it's not. No, you definitely should. You definitely should. And it is kind of short. But as long as you go into it knowing the characters are annoying, I think you can just enjoy the monster movie aspect of it. There's enough going on that it's not really like boring. There's not really downtime or anything. And the things that I'm saying they're not really spoilers because they're not really twists. It's just the stuff that's happening. There's not a whole lot of cleverness to this movie. It's what makes it decent, what makes the monster side of it decent is just that it's done well, or well enough. And that the alligators, for the most part, look pretty good.
Why don't they just close the basement door?
To keep the alligators out?
Yeah.
Well,
like,
the alligators...
Why are they in the basement with the alligators?
Because... and it's kind of contrived. Like, there are all these bars and stuff in the basement. So, like, depending on where you are in the basement, you can sort of get stuck in an area. And it's like, oh, well, we ended up on this side of these bars, and the alligator's on the other side of the bars, so we're stuck here in this spot. And it's very forced. And when she gets there, like, her dad's unconscious, and because he's been attacked and I guess bleeding. It doesn't matter. I mean, as I expected, once she found him, I'm like, well, he's going to have to wake up at some point. And then the whole rest of the movie, he's more or less fine. His leg bone is sticking out of his leg, but eventually he forgets about that and he's fine. But there's way too much stuff about her being a swimmer. And it doesn't even, like, there is a point at which he's like, swim, you're faster than them. And I'm like, no, she's not. They're alligators. I don't care if she's a swimmer or not. Yeah. But they talk about it so much. It's like any movie where there's supposed to be history to the family, where there's some fucking thing that they have to like talk about and remember when you were a kid and blah blah blah, and here's a story that I'm going to tell you for the audience, but you were there for, so you don't need me to tell you at all. There's all that sort of stuff, and the way they talk about her swimming, you would think that she was president of the United States or something. Like, it's just like, it's the biggest thing in the world. And she's like, my swim meets broke you guys up. It ruined your marriage. And I'm like, this is fucking awful. But it is kind of a fun movie. I had the worst experience with the audience, though, because there were like 17s up in the front that, like, at one point they were playing a YouTube video during the movie, and I'm like, ugh, this is how old people get cranky.
Yeah.
So there's a point where the daughter's doing CPR on her dad, and she's counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, but like her pushing on his chest does not go with the counting at all. She's doing like triple time on his chest. And there's just stuff like that throughout the movie where I'm like, this just, what are we doing here? There are. Sorry, I'm trying to look through my notes here. I'm like, okay, no, I just jumped through all my notes while telling you about it. The movie forgets about the hurricane a bunch of times. There are a bunch of moments where you're like, wait a minute, isn't there a hurricane going on? And then later they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we need the hurricane to like really hurricane right now, so that's gonna happen.
Turn on the wind machine. Yeah.
Oh, and the eye of the storm is like 3 seconds long. And of course, it's perfectly timed to be dramatically problematic. This movie has the best dog ever. It doesn't really do anything. It's just really, really cute. The girl at the beginning, the setup of this is she's driving 2 hours into the hurricane. Like, she's talking to her sister who's like, Dad won't answer my calls. Go check on him. There's a huge hurricane, and she's like, all right, I'll go check on him. It's only 2 hours away. And I'm like, driving 2 hours into a hurricane, like, call someone.
Yeah.
Go like, hey, police or friends that live in the area. And it is established that she has friends in the area. Go check on my dad since you're there. And it would take me 2 hours to get there anyway. And there's a hurricane. So, you know, there's a lot of dumb stuff, stupid decisions being made so that the movie can movie. I noticed once again how programmed I am by movies to expect a car accident anytime anyone's driving. Like, I even told myself, I was like, Matt, this is not what this movie's about. And I'm like, yeah, but she's talking to the dog and she's not looking at the road. She's going to hit something. The movie at first seems to do a pretty good job of mapping this house out to kind of let you know, like, here's the layout of what you're going to have to work with throughout this whole movie. But then it turns out it doesn't map it out very well, because they're in the basement. I'm like, wait, which side of the bars are they on? Is she with the alligators or is she in the part with her dad right now? I can't tell. The alligators, I feel like the people who made this movie, other than the fact that they just want the movie to go the way they want it to go, like, they did not study alligators at all. Because these alligators are, like, stalking her like Jason Voorhees, where, like, she's backing up and it's just walking towards her very slowly. And I'm like, alligators can move pretty quickly when they want to attack something.
Yeah.
But the movie would also have you believe that that alligators are like sharks. And once you're out of the water, they won't come up on land. Like, they're just aquatic creatures. There are some effect. Go
Antelope
ahead.
get eaten by alligators all the time.
Yeah,
when they're taking a little sip of water.
Well, and if you've ever seen a video of, like, any person being on land near the water and alligators just rushing out of the water to try to attack them, like, this thing does not just go, oh man, she went on land, I'm going to turn away. There are pretty good jump scares. There's one in particular where I was like, well, that totally got me. And I mean, jump scares are not particularly sophisticated or anything, but one got me so good that I was like, all right, that deserves something, because I actually enjoyed it. Now, have you heard about these meth gators?
No.
Yeah. So apparently there are in Florida. I haven't actually heard this story, but I keep seeing the like headlines for it. There are meth gators, and they're telling people not to flush drugs down the toilet because they're creating meth gators. And I'm thinking this movie must be about meth gators, because they are super hungry. And I don't know that meth actually makes people hungry, but I'm going to go with that, because these alligators want to eat everyone. And I guess I don't have a whole lot more to say. I did have, you and I have had a couple conversations about actors having to deal with water and just how uncomfortable it must be to be wet all day long.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those movies. I'm like, oh, it would suck. Oh, yeah. Here's a question for you, Nick.
Oh, yes, Matt.
Imagine that you are in a room that an alligator's coming at you, and you have two options here.
All right.
You can close a door that's made of wood to try to keep it away from you. Or you could put a layer, or let's say a glass door between yourself and an alligator. Which would you go with?
I think Well, let's take a look at both options.
Yes.
So the wooden door would just stop the alligator.
Right.
But the glass door would let me be able to see the alligator crash through the glass. I guess we're going to go with the wood door.
That would be that's what I would opt for. This movie would have you believe otherwise. This movie has the character go, well, why would I stay here trying to close this wooden door to keep the alligator away from me when I could hop over this thin glass thing? And then literally, like, after that works, spoiler alert, after that works and they're like, yeah, that alligator can't get through the glass, literally the next scene, an alligator comes crashing through glass. I'm just like, whatever. So it just doesn't care about stuff like that. And that's all I have to say. Yeah, that's it. It was, if I had known because I had heard that the acting was good, and I guess the actors aren't bad. It's just the character writing sucks.
Does it star anybody?
It stars a young lady I don't think I've ever seen in anything before. And she is fine. I mean, she does a good job. And the guy that plays her dad, he's kind of like one of those douchey side character guys. Like I've seen him in other movies. But he's sort of like, I think I might have seen him in something where he played like a military dude. So if it was like a movie with the Rock, he would be like the Rock's smarmy friend.
Oh, okay.
So he like, so for instance with what was it, Skyscraper? The friend of his that tries to steal his computer thing.
The guy without a family.
Yeah. It's not him, but he could play that role. So, yeah, if I had just expected that I was going to be annoyed the whole time, then I probably would have enjoyed it more. Because as a cheesy monster movie, it does work.
Okay.
So, check it out sometime.
All right. Yeah, I'll check it out. Sounds stupid and fun.
Yeah, put it on our list of commentaries to do for, whenever I'm out there next.
Okay. All right. So then that brings me to Alita, Battle Angel, written by James Cameron and some other lady, and directed by Robert Rodriguez. This movie was terrible. It was not good. It had a couple of cool sequences, and like some of the visuals were really neat, but overall it is dumb. And about halfway through the movie, I said to my wife, who I was watching this with, and I was like, is this based on some anime or manga comic? And she's like, I don't know. And then the very first credit, when it gets to the credits, is it's based on some anime, and I'm like, of course. Now the movie makes sense a little bit. So if you're unaware, Alita Battle Angel is the story of this cyborg girl who gets brought back to life. Christoph Waltz plays this robot doctor who finds... So it's the distant future. It's like 500 years in the future. And, also at the very, very beginning of the movie, they have this... They have the 20th Century Fox logo, where it does like the da-da-da-da. Yeah. And at the very end, it turns into a very terrible 26th Century Fox logo. And it looks really bad.
To let it's the future.
Yeah, and it looks awful. And it looks like they made the whole thing, but they're like, this looks terrible, but we paid for it, so we might as well just use 2 seconds of it.
Hey, wait. So let me check. I feel like I misunderstood something. So you're watching the movie, and it doesn't make sense, and then somewhere in the middle of the movie there are credits?
No, at the end of the movie.
Oh! Once it was over, you were like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
when
okay,
it was
that
over.
makes sense that
Yeah.
it was the way it was." Okay, I get you.
So it's 500 years in the future after some crazy war destroys most of the world. There are 2 societies, and it's kind of like that movie Elysium a little bit.
I never saw that.
Oh, it's not good.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. And in the sky, there's like this sky city called Salem or Zalem or something like that, and that's where all the elite live. And then below that is Iron City, where the normos live, the normal people live, and the poors. And so Christoph Waltz is like this cyborg robot doctor. And at the beginning of the movie, he's going through the elite's garbage because they just dump it below the city. And he finds this head, like he finds the top of a cyborg. Like it's like the head, like the chest, and then like the spine and heart and stuff.
Okay.
And he's like, "Oh, you're still alive." And it's Christoph Waltz, who's usually a pretty good actor, but for some reason, he's trying to cover up his accent in this movie, and sometimes he succeeds and sometimes he doesn't.
I feel like you don't need to do that if it's the future. You know,
It's all
like,
it's
oh
the
yeah,
future.
people have gotten all scrambled up.
And they also say, how come everyone speaks so many different languages here? Because like that's like another thing. Like everyone speaks different languages. So what's the point of trying to make him not have an accent? Anyway, so he brings the head home, puts it into. I'm going to get into spoilers here. So Jennifer Connelly's in this movie for some reason, and she and Christoph Waltz used to be married, and they had a child who was disabled in some way. And so Christoph Waltz built her a robot body to put her brain into, and she gets killed by like this crazy robot that was on drugs. Doesn't make any sense. I can't even try to explain. And then here's another thing about the movie is that I can't figure out what these robot cyborgs are, and they don't really explain it. Like the Alita character, she is all machine except for her brain, apparently, because she has to eat food to nourish her brain. And that's like the only line that they mention. And she has like taste, like she can taste things. And
is that for the sake of like product placement, so they could like have her eat Cheetos or something?
No, there's no product placement at all. Okay. And like it's very unclear like what these cyborgs are. Like, are they all just brains inside robotic bodies? And then it's like, do they feel pain? Because some of them seem to feel horrible pain, and others just don't. And it's all very confusing and poorly done. And so basically, Christoph Waltz takes the brain or the head of Alita, which was the name of his daughter who gets murdered, and puts it inside the body that he made for her. And she wakes up and he's like, "Hi, can you tell us who you are since you're a robot?" And she's like, "I don't know. I don't have any memory." And he's like, "Okay, well, we'll call you Alita. That was my daughter's name," which is weird. And
yeah.
And so this is when the movie gets a little weird with the passage of time, where the whole movie feels like it takes place over the course of a week, but it could just as easily be a couple of years. But it is unclear completely how much time goes by. So it's like the next day, I guess, Christoph Waltz takes Alita out to see the city, and they're like walking around, and she's like, "Oh, the sights and sound. I'm in love with the world." And he's like, "I knew you would be. You're a wonderful girl." And she's like, "Okay." And then like this,
I like that he turned Russian. Hey, look over there, he's moose, and there is squirrel.
Yeah. So then he's like in a store or something, and she's eating a burrito, and she's like giving some of it to this stray dog, and then the robot from the first RoboCop movie, like the T-800 or whatever it is, the big one that's like present hall pass.
Yeah.
And it like is like coming towards her, and she doesn't know what to do, and so she like gets ready to fight it, and then the love interest shows up on his unicycle motorcycle and like pushes her out of the way, and they're instantly in love.
Right.
And his name is Hugo, and he's douche. He's a douche. And,
I picked up on that in the preview.
Yeah, like he is just terrible. And so like she's in love with him immediately. And then like it's so stupid. Like this guy's like making a living on the side by like stealing cyborg parts and selling them to Cottonmouth from the first season of Luke Cage. And it's I don't even know where else to go with this. It's so dumb.
Well, does this movie turn it? Because so I'm still on the side of only having seen the previews and having at one point been really curious about it, and then picking up on the idea that like instead of this being a movie with a real plot, like she just starts competing in some sort of like death match.
You think
right?
You think that that's going to be a huge part of the movie. The motor ball. I keep wanting to call it murder ball, but it's called motor ball.
Yeah, close enough.
And so she goes with Hugo to like hang out with his friends one day.
Yeah.
And they're all playing like this motorized inline skates game called Motor Ball, which is like go around in a circle with this steel ball and put it in a hoop kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But like it's like
Quidditch.
It's like basketball meets roller derby.
Okay.
And so she doesn't know how to skate, but she figures it out real quick. And then she becomes pretty badass at it in a period of 2 minutes. Like she goes from being...
because she's a robot.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be amazed at her being able to do stuff that's more than human?
I can't figure it out because everyone in this movie is a robot. Like everybody, like the people who aren't robots, like there's so many people with cybernetic upgrades and with appendages and
so it's like the X-Men world where everybody's a mutant.
Yeah, kind of. Like the people who aren't cyborgs are the minority.
Okay.
But they act like they're better than the cyborgs.
Right. And that's why the boy's like, "You're the most human person I know."
Oh God, that's when he says that. That's like the stupidest thing you've ever heard. Because literally, he was just talking to his friend, who is 100% human.
Well, yeah, I think it's supposed to be poetic.
It's not. It's not, because she's. It's unclear if she's human at all, and so the movie goes along, and basically, she slowly gets her memory back, and what we figure out is that she is this unstoppable killing machine. She's like the greatest. So remember, there was the big
her
war.
Brain is.
No, well, her brain is, but she also. I'll get to it.
Okay.
So remember the big war that destroyed the world,
right?
So she was involved with that. So she's been around for 300 years, just kind of sitting in the trash, and for some reason, and so. What happens one day is Hugo takes her out of the city to go see this spaceship that crashed, and apparently there's like a Mars colony in the future, and the Great War was between Earth and the Mars colony, and the people on Mars were really good at creating technology, and the Mars people created Alita, including like a super body suit that she was like destined to wear, or that she used to wear when she was a soldier. And so she takes the body home to Christoph Waltz, and she's like, "Put me in this." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to do that." And she goes, "Fine, well, I'll find someone who will," basically. And what's implied is that she's going to turn to Jennifer Connelly and Cottonmouth from Luke Cage and say, "Hey, you guys know about robots. Can you put my brain in this body? And then she has to like work for them. Like that's what I expected the second half of the movie would be about.
Yeah.
Instead, because she remembers everything who she is, she becomes the world's greatest fighter and decides to become a bounty hunter, or a hunter-killer is what they're called. And so she goes from being like this sweet, innocent robot girl to being like, I'm a bounty hunter now. I'm going to go to the bounty hunter bar, and I'm going to recruit some bounty hunters to work with me. And she can fight like nobody's business. She's like the best at this robot kung fu. I forget what it's called, but it's like Kane Perkstow or something like that. There's like a name for it. And she's like the best at it. And she's fighting and kicking ass. And all I can think is she's doing all of this in the body that Christoph Waltz made for his disabled daughter. Like, she's already the greatest fighting machine ever. What does the super body add? Like, what could it add? And the answer, not much. Doesn't add much.
The whole thing that you just explained, it, like, gave me the same response that I have. And it's kind of like my brain turning off and not listening. No offense, but, like, it's that same thing that when people try to explain shit like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z and all those sorts of, like, cartoons where they're like, and these people are competing in this weird way and have these powers that seem completely arbitrary, and it just sounds like the worst.
Yeah, it's not good, and it just keeps going. Like, it's over. I think it's 2 hours and 1 minute long. I was like, ugh, God, it's so long. That being said, some of the action sequences are fun. She does play Murder Ball or Motorball, and that sequence is neat for like 2 minutes, and then it's like, oh, we're not really playing the game, we're all just here to kill you. And you're like, well, I just kind of wanted to see her play the game. And
it's like, and then here's the Hunger Games where you're like, can we just watch more of the competition?
And then here's the other thing that really bothered me is the character for Alita. One, it looks like she was supposed to be Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Rec. Like, she looks just like Aubrey Plaza. And there was an actress who played Alita, and I could not figure out if it was an actress and she was like wearing a green mask or whatever, and they just computer animated her face, because the Alita character looks similar to the actress who plays her, but not enough.
Well, and they enlarged her eyes and stuff.
Yeah, like she's got these giant eyes, and I just wanted someone to address it at some point in the movie, and
like
no one
for someone to
does.
Be like, wow, you've got the biggest eyes,
you have such beautiful eyes, or something like that, or anything, and no one addresses it at all.
Or they could have like a running joke where things keep poking her in the eyes.
Well, Jill made a hilarious joke because she's riding with Hugo on his unicycle motorcycle, and she's like, close your eyes, girls, those are like two giant windshields. She's like riding with her hands in the air, like you're going to get so much dirt in your eyes.
You're going to get hit by a bug.
Yeah. But no one ever addresses the eyes, and no other character in the movie has big eyes. Like, there's a lot of robots, and they all have, like, different features, but, like, none are exaggerated like her eyes. And no one ever addresses it, and it was really annoying.
Nick, will you watch Get Out already? Instead of watching all these other stupid-ass movies. Oh, God.
I almost watched Hellboy last night, too.
Oh, for God's sake.
But that movie's 2 hours long. I thought it would be like a quick 90 minutes, and I was like, no way.
The new one?
Yeah.
Oh, God, why?
I don't know.
Oh, no. All right.
But I think that's all I have to say about Alita. I want you to watch it because I want to hear how irritated you are, like watching it.
That's all it would be, is me being pissed
But then,
off.
like this movie is so sure that it's gonna be a massive hit that it like sets up like 4 sequels.
Well, it by the time it came out, the previews were giving me the same feeling as all those Mortal Engines previews. And it sounds like kind of the same thing. It thinks it's going to be this big, great thing, and then it's just like, no, it's all hype.
Yeah. It's like if a sequel to it came out, I would watch it. I wouldn't go to the theater to watch it, but I would watch it just to be like, all right, what else are they going to do? Because they
then
never,
the answer would probably be nothing.
Probably because they never go to the city in the sky. They never get up there. So they set up this whole location that we never visit. And you're like, oh, we're never getting up there. That's for the sequel, isn't it? In the sequel, we get to go up there where we fight. And huge spoiler alert, the leader of all the bad guys, or this guy named Nova, is Edward Norton. And you're like, the movie's like ending in this guy. And this guy who looks like Brent Spiner in Independence Day, the scientist guy.
Yeah.
Data from Star Trek. He looks like Data from Star Trek wearing future binoculars, and he takes them off, and you're like, Edward Norton? What? What are you doing here? And then the movie ends, and you're like, ugh. I mean, if there's a sequel, I'll watch it, but I'm not expecting much. Like, I went into this not knowing what to expect. I was kind of the same with you with the trailers, where I was like, I went from liking it to being like, this is going to suck, to I can't wait to see this, to this is going to suck. And the final result was it sucked. But I would watch a sequel.
Just because of investment, it sounds like.
Yeah, I would like to see where it goes.
Gotcha.
And I like Edward Norton. And I want to see what the future, like the high-tech city looks like. You teased me with how great Zalem is, and I don't even get to see it. There is an amazing sequence. This movie feels a lot like RoboCop 2, which I don't think you remember, but like RoboCop 2 has a lot of like disembodied brains and like spines and stuff. And there's like a scene where Jennifer Connelly like quits her job because she decides she wants to be a good guy. And the bad guy's like, you're not going anywhere. And then Alita shows up like 2 minutes later to take on the bad guy. And he's like, well, don't you want to say hi to Jennifer Connelly? And he opens up this refrigerator, and inside are her hands, her brains, and her eyes. And she's like alive, just watching. And it's like,
so like that.
It's like
in between scenes, she got disembodied.
Yeah, and that's how you get to go to the Sky City. The only way you get to go to the Sky City is in pieces, or if you're the champion of Murder Ball.
Jesus, that sounds dumb.
Yeah, and so yeah, the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one.
I want you to watch it.
I know you do.
All right, so that's all I got on that.
I'm so glad I didn't go to the theater for that one.
Matt.
Wait a minute. So you're talking about movies that think they're all big and turn out to be crap, and your follow-up to that is to watch freaking Hellboy?
Uh-huh. Because I thought it would be
watch
short
Get Out
and terrible.
You're not allowed to watch anything else until you see Get Out. And now it's going to be overhyped, but I don't even care.
I think Us is available now, too.
In terms of order of watching those movies, I don't know. I was going to say I think I'd say watch Get Out first, but I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
So Matt, I finally created the Midwest Matt Marvel Cinematic Universe bracket. Would you like to play?
Absolutely. I'm doing that hand motion of where you wipe your hands in preparation to get down to business. Cracking my knuckles. All right, let's do it.
All right, so to set it up, I tried to break this up into phases. Like the Phase 1 movies are kind of together, the Phase 2 movies are kind of together, and the Phase 3 movies are kind of together. And there's an odd number of movies, so sorry, but Spider-Man Far From Home technically makes it to the second round.
Okay. I mean, if there's somewhere where I'm doing 3 in one, that's fine.
All right. Well, then I'll just do that. We'll say I'll erase this line because I know it's not going to win. All right. So to start.
Yeah.
And users, or listeners, if you're unfamiliar with what's going on, I've created a bracket for Matt to decide for himself which is the best of the Marvel MCU movies. And we're about to start it now.
Oh, well, and if you are new to it, then I think the first one, the time that I did the bracket for you, was on our second episode talking about Endgame.
Yeah, maybe.
I think so.
I feel like that's right. It was definitely after Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Iron Man 1 versus Thor 1.
Oh, Iron Man. Done.
Iron Man. Now, Iron Man 2 versus the Incredible Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hated Iron Man 2. Like in that first one, like Thor didn't really do much for me. I can't say I enjoyed it, but I didn't hate it. And I really enjoyed Iron Man, the original. But I hated, and I still hate Iron Man 2. And the Incredible Hulk I actually thought was pretty decent. I mean, I don't want to watch it again, but I remember seeing it and going like, okay, I'm mildly engaged.
Yeah, I like the Incredible Hulk. I don't know why it's like the redheaded stepchild.
I think it's because of Ed Norton.
Yeah. All right. Next game. Captain America, the First Avenger versus the Avengers.
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh, God. See, because I did not like the Avengers.
Uh-huh.
And when and it's kind of like, for me, it was like a C, maybe C minus. And when it comes to Captain America, the First Avenger, I sort of liked half the movie, but I didn't like the other half. And I felt like it sort of went in the wrong direction. Like by the end, I was like, well, I got less interested in this as it went. If I had to watch one of them again... Jesus. Boy, I look forward to the winner of this going against another movie so I can just kill it. Let's just go with Captain America.
Okay. All right. Next round is Iron Man 3. Well, now we're out of the Phase 1 movies.
Well, I can't do Iron Man 3 because I never saw it.
Versus Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Oh, well, Winter Soldier would probably win anyway, so done.
You should watch Iron Man 3 about 100 times. Next is Thor the Dark World versus Avengers Age of Ultron.
So 2 movies I've never seen. Let's go with Age of Ultron.
Okay.
I thought you were going to take out the ones I hadn't seen.
No, that was funny for me. Guardians of the Galaxy versus the first Ant-Man.
Oh, Guardians. Easy.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't hate Ant-Man, but like Guardians I actually enjoyed.
Captain America Civil War versus Guardians 2.
Ooh. Man. I'm going to have to go with Civil War on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next up is Doctor Strange versus Captain Marvel.
Huh. That's kind of interesting, too, because I feel like kind of middle of the road with both of them. But if I had to sit down and watch one of them, I would definitely go Doctor Strange. So I'm going to go with Doctor Strange.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we're in Phase 3 now.
Although I will say, I think in terms of there being like a sequel, I'm probably more apt to expect a sequel to Captain Marvel to be better than Doctor Strange 2.
Next up, Spider-Man Homecoming versus Black Panther.
Oh, you dick. Oh, God. Oh, man. I'm having a hard time. Like, it's been so long since I've seen Homecoming, and I think I've been, like, hesitant to watch it again because I don't want it to turn out to be not as good as I remember. And I've seen I think I saw Black Panther 3 times now. I'm going to have to go with Black Panther.
Black Panther, okay. Next is Thor Ragnarok versus Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I haven't seen the second one, but I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. And I think like Thor Ragnarok just keeps getting better in my mind over time. And I have seen it more than once, and I enjoyed it probably even a little bit more the second time. So yeah, definitely Thor.
They just announced this week that Taika Waititi is going to come back to direct the fourth Thor movie.
Okay, cool.
Whenever that happens. I don't know what. I guess Marvel's going to announce what's going on with the future of Marvel this week at Comic-Con. So I guess we'll get some information this week about that. And then the final.
Well, he's going to end up being with the Guardians, right?
I don't know. I mean, that's where they left off.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
So the final game of the first round is a 3-on-3. I guess. Avengers Infinity War versus Avengers Endgame versus Spider-Man Far From Home.
All right. So this brings up a good question about Endgame, which is the further I get from Endgame, the less I enjoy it. I don't hate it or anything like that, but I get more and more like, yeah, that was a great experience. I don't really feel like I need to see it again. So I'm going to go with Infinity War on this because I feel like Infinity War's got more staying power. And I've seen it twice, and I enjoyed it the second time, too.
All right. Now, next up is the second round.
Okay.
All right. Going back to the top. Iron Man 1 versus the Incredible Hulk.
Iron Man.
All right. Captain America, the First Avenger, versus Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
All right.
Yeah, I remember walking away from Captain America, the first one, being like, this didn't really feel like a movie.
It's like more of a commercial.
Yeah, it didn't really find its own plot.
As time has gone by, I've seen it a couple more times, and I like it a lot more than I did the first time. And it almost makes me wish that they didn't bring Captain America into modern times. Like, he just had more World War II adventures.
Yeah. I could see that being a like if they had a side movie, like some of these things jump around in time. Captain Marvel was like, going back to the 90s. If they had another Captain America episode and it was in there somewhere, pardon me, in there somewhere, I could get on board with that.
Yeah.
So, definitely Winter Soldier, though. It was a real movie.
Next up is Avengers Age of Ultron versus Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm about 100% sure that I would agree with myself even if I had seen Age of Ultron.
Captain America Civil War versus Doctor Strange.
I'm going to have to go Civil War on that one.
Okay. Black Panther versus Thor Ragnarok.
Damn it. Oh, man. This is hard because, Thor has grown on me so much. And I think it's not just that he's grown on me, but it's like that they got better at making him an interesting character and fun. And if it were just the main characters going up against each other, I'd have no problem with this because it would totally be Thor. Because the Black Panther character is not all that interesting. But the side characters I really like. Like his sister is so much fun. This is like two forms of fun going against one another. Oh, man. And every time I think of Ragnarok, I hear that Led Zeppelin song. And it's just like the immigrant song. And I'm like, yeah, I get all pumped up. Damn it. And now I'm having a hard time teasing out Black Panther from the parts that take place in Infinity War in Wakanda. Fudge. This is probably the toughest one. I want to take Thor and put him in Black Panther.
That sounds like a different kind of movie.
Man. I feel like Black Panther's also a little bit more cohesive. Like Ragnarok, just like when I think of the Jeff Goldblum character, it's sort of like there are these different elements, but they're not necessarily so drawn together. And on one, like with Black Panther, I really like Killmonger, but in Thor, the opponent, like the bad guy, doesn't really have much going for her. Shit. I think I'm gonna have to go with Black Panther.
Black Panther. All right.
Man,
all right,
I'm sad to see Ragnarok go. I thought it would make it towards the end.
So this is where the grid gets a little jacked up. So we're just going to say Avengers Infinity War is still alive.
Okay.
All right. Now it's time for the third round.
Okay.
This quarterfinals, I guess. I don't know. Iron Man versus Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
I'm gonna have to go with Iron Man. I only ever saw Winter. I know. I only ever saw Winter Soldier the one time, and that was in the theater. And it didn't quite stick with me. Like, I don't remember it all that well. And I've seen Iron Man probably 10 times at least. And I know it's a little weaker because the third act is pretty strained. But as far as enjoyment goes, I definitely enjoy Iron Man more than I did Winter Soldier. At least when I saw it. So that if I were to watch Winter Soldier again, it might be a bit different, but I got to go with the experiences I've had. So yeah, Iron Man.
All right. Guardians of the Galaxy versus Captain America: Civil War.
Ah, shit. I'm going to go with Civil War.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. I enjoyed Guardians, but not as much as everybody else.
And then, because the grid is all screwed up, this next question is going to decide who's in the final for we'll say the Southern bracket.
Okay.
Black Panther versus Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, crap. Black Panther.
Really?
Yeah. Hang on. Huh? Yeah. Man. See, this is another one where it's like, oh, now the right things are getting pitted up against each other. Because for me, Black Panther, it's all about Killmonger and him essentially being right. And Thanos, and not necessarily him being right, because again, there's that issue of like, if you killed half of everything, then a lot of resources are gone too. But I do kind of like his like nihilism. I'm gonna flip on this one. I'm gonna go with Infinity War.
Oh, okay. All right. And then here's the semifinal for the North bracket. Iron Man 1 versus Captain America: Civil War.
Oh, Iron Man.
Iron Man making it to the end.
Which is ironic because I like Iron Man a lot in that movie. And then in all the other movies, I feel like Iron Man / Tony Stark is the worst part. I can't stand him. He's fucking annoying. He's whiny, and yeah, anyway, keep going.
All right.
Yeah.
This is the final.
Is it?
Yep.
This is the
Iron Man
Championship.
Iron Man 1 versus Avengers Infinity War. And we'll get to that after this sponsor from Hammers. Do you need to nail in something to the wall? Buy a hammer.
Iron Man.
Iron Man beats Infinity War. Wow. Iron Man is your grand champion.
Yeah. And you know what? Ironically, if it were Iron Man versus Ragnarok, I don't know who would win. It's tough because I think one thing this kind of illustrates along the way is that, like, these movies really have their strong points and their weaknesses. Like, Iron Man 1 is the most fun, I think, in a lot of ways, but I am like, give it a better third act. Give it a better bad guy. I want Killmonger to be an Iron Man, and then we'd have a much better movie, and we'd probably have a much better third act. I don't know what he would need as far as, like, superpowers go. I guess the Black Panther juice. But that's what I'd rather say. I want to see Thor, the fun Thor from Ragnarok, teamed up with Iron Man from Iron Man against Killmonger and I don't know. Are there any other good I guess Thanos. Yeah. And throw Spider-Man in there somewhere.
The Vulture from the first Spider-Man movie.
Oh, no.
I liked his bad guy. He's great.
He was all right as a like kind of interesting character, but as far as a bad guy, I mean, he wasn't like menacing or anything.
Oh. I think I just liked Michael Keaton, yeah.
Well, and he as a human being on a non-superhero level was kind of cool. And like the moment where, spoiler alert for Homecoming, the moment where you find out that like he's the dad,
yeah,
like that's a moment where I'm like, oh, this is pretty tense.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah, when he opens the door, you're like.
And I'd be cool with this all happening in the Ragnarok world where Led Zeppelin's doing the soundtrack.
That's just the soundtrack for every movie.
Yeah.
Somebody on YouTube took the scene where in Infinity War where Thor shows up at the battle.
Yeah.
And just overlaid the Immigrant Song over that. Works beautifully.
Yeah. Well,
like,
I
imagine,
I mean, like when Thor shows up, you're like, yeah, like it's exciting. Lightning coming out of his eyes. I'm like, he looks cool. He is cool. This is fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But, yeah.
I mean, probably when he's actually being Thor and he and Captain America are near each other in Endgame, like, that's what I want to be there for. The rest of that movie can kind of screw right off. But
I need to watch it again. I think Infinity War is the better movie. I think Infinity War is going to end up being like the Empire Strikes Back of our time.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Because it ends on such a down note.
It's dark. It's kind of thoughtful. Yeah.
It's... Whereas Endgame has the responsibility of like straightening everything out and a happy ending for the most part.
Yeah, well, and it ties together better than you would anticipate, which is probably where like, Return of the Jedi gets a lot of crap for just not living up to the Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. And maybe Endgame really doesn't quite live up to Infinity War either, but they managed to pull it off.
Yeah.
And I think that's with it being such a huge project. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, good job.
Kudos. Yeah. All right, Matt, that brings us to our final segment in this supersized show. Our movie rankings list. Now, you saw one movie that I can't remember.
I saw Crawl.
That's right. Yeah. The alligator movie.
And
why isn't there a movie called Crocagator?
Because they're just not different enough.
Aladial.
You need to mix it with a shark or an octopus for it to be a combination thing. So I'm going to put Crawl between the Fire documentaries and Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile.
Oh, all the way down into the new number 35 spot.
Yeah, I mean, there are other movies higher than that I'm like, it could have gone near them. Like, it probably could have gone with Life After Beth, but no.
How many stars?
2? Yeah, 2
stars.
Sounds about right.
All right. And would you say you recommend or like it?
That is a harder question than it ought to be. If you were to ask me,
would you click the heart button?
If you were to ask me while I was watching it, I would have said no. But now that I'm like, yeah, as a monster movie, it does its thing, and I'd actually be willing to see it again with that in mind someday in the future. I'm going to go with yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. And that brings me to my list.
Oh, and it's pretty far above Shazam. That's not right.
Well, now I need to go back and check your list. Where's Shazam?
Like 5 lower than that.
Oh, I almost watched that too, but then I was like, I'd rather watch Alita because we've talked about Shazam already. So
yeah.
I still want to see Shazam. I wish I'd seen it in theaters. All right, so then my list, I watched The Red Turtle, which I'm gonna put. Geez, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot, and it was well made. I'm gonna put it above Happy. I'm gonna put it between Star Trek and Overlord in the new 21 spot.
Turtles.
I see turtles. And I'm gonna give this movie 3.5 stars. It was quite good. And I definitely would recommend it and click the like button. Now, Alita. This movie, you mentioned Mortal Engines.
Yeah.
And I also am about to mention Mortal Engines. Because I don't know if it was better than that. The main guy feels like he should have been in that movie. Let's see. Was it better than that movie? Was it better than Terminator Genisys? Yes. Was it better than Runaway Jury? I laughed a lot more. I laughed a lot during it because it was terrible. I liked it more than After Earth. Did I like it more than Venom?
It didn't sound like it. Because you had a couple good things to say about Venom. I didn't really say anything.
Yeah, it's going to go between Venom and After Earth in the new 59 spot. And I'm going to give this movie... I'm torn between 1.5 and 2 stars. I'm going to say 1.5 stars. 1.5 stars. But would I recommend it? No. No,
because you want me to watch it.
I just want you to watch it because I would just want to hear what you have to say about it.
Next weekend, Nick pisses Matt off by making him watch a shitty movie.
I think the last one I got you to watch was Solo.
That did piss me off.
Yeah.
Not so much at you, just the movie.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's going to do it for the show. Matt, anything to plug this week or recommend for your Midwest Matt Recommends segment?
Yeah, actually, I started listening to a podcast called The Asset, which does a really cool job. I mean, there are moments where they make some music choices that are like a little cheesy, because we're talking about like actual like espionage or manipulation or whatever, real stuff that's happening in the real world, and unfortunately they choose music that's like James Bond type music,
or like cliched stuff.
Yeah, like dramified. I'm like, hey, let's, this is serious, it's not a joke. But it's a pretty good rundown of Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, and like how things have kind of come to be the way they are and what those relationships look like. So I'm only like maybe a few episodes, maybe like 3 or 4 episodes in. But there's one in particular that's really like, here's Putin's biography, and that gets kind of interesting. I'd say check it out. It's a pretty good podcast in spite of that music stuff.
And it's called The Asset.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you go to thisweekinfilm.com, you'll find a link to all the stuff that Midwest Matt has recommended. You can also find links to all of us on social media, whatever. If you want to contact us, you can contact us there or on social, or you can email us at thisweekinfilmpodcast@gmail.com. Didn't we request music for this, for Preview Corner?
Didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did. It was like a week ago at this point.
Come on, people. Well, has that actually aired?
No, that was earlier in this episode.
No, that was for Preview Corner.
Yeah, Preview. If you got Preview Corner music for us to use, we would, we'll do it. I don't care if it's the worst music I ever heard. We'll use whatever you supply.
I thought just a minute ago, I don't know where my head was. I thought you were asking. I thought you were saying, didn't we request music for this part of the show? What's wrong with these listeners? Why haven't they provided it yet?
If you have music for the end of the show, we'll use it. Give us free stuff to use in our show. I guess that is going to do it. Anything else, Matt?
No, that's it. We're good.
All right. Well, if that's the end of the reel, we'll see you next week in film.
Thanks for listening.